Barbie is one of the most recognizable brands in the world. She's so ingrained in pop culture that the word Barbie is thrown around a lot in everyday speech. However, Barbie's general reception within the cultural zeitgeist is usually very negative. The public has labeled Barbie as the poster child for unachievable perfection and unfair expectations for women, both because of her unrealistic body proportions and the status assigned to her as a character. She's a blonde who loves fashion and the color pink, who is well off enough to live in a massive dream house in Malibu. A lot of these characteristics given to Barbie parallel the popular or rich girl archetype that people love to loathe with a passion, which is what leads people to correlate Barbie with the idea of being fake. I can't even count the amount of times I've heard someone use the word Barbie in a negative sense, whether it be to call out someone for being fake, or to use Barbie as an example of what society unfairly expects of women and girls. And that's not even mentioning the relationship between Barbie and being called plastic. Plastic is used to describe someone shallow and artificial. Usually it's directed towards women. I couldn't find the exact origin of the word being used that way, but from my research, it seems to have started in the 1960s, which, funnily enough, is around the time when the first Barbie doll was released. And to boot, many people would describe Barbie's personality as plastic in a heartbeat. There could be a correlation here considering people's issues with Barbie as a character and the fact that the dolls are made of plastic. Coincidence? Maybe? I personally don't think the term was coined because of the invention of Barbie dolls. However, I do think that people tend to conflate the two. We can probably blame the Barbie Girl song for that one. Then there's also the body image controversies. Barbie gets labeled as the poster child for impossible body standards as well. And although I can understand how this may affect some, I personally think it's unfair to push the blame on Barbie alone. There are so many places in media where similar beauty standards are pushed, be it influencers, Hollywood, advertisements, the modeling industry, video games, animation, and the list goes on. Yet somehow it feels like Barbie gets the brunt of anger when it comes to this. This has been such an issue for the brand that in 2016 Mattel started diversifying the body types they use for the new Barbie doll line. I personally never had a problem with the way Barbie looked when I was younger, because I didn't see her as a real person. She was simply a vehicle for me to use my imagination, which doesn't follow the same rules as reality. However, I know that may not be the case for everyone. Little things here and there can have a big effect on the way you view yourself. I may not have had this happen with Barbie dolls, but that doesn't mean I'm unaffected from other things advertised. I actually really liked the 2016 Fashionista line, but I still feel like Barbie has been unfairly singled out. All stylized characters have unrealistic body proportions, especially dolls. Just take a look at some of the most popular doll brands. None of them look realistic, and some of them make Barbie look pretty normal. This isn't me taking a shot at how other dolls look. It just upsets me that Barbie is usually the go-to when it comes to this complaint. You don't hear people complaining about Disney's unfair beauty standards nearly as often, even though their characters have similar exaggerated proportions. It's a double standard, plain and simple. All of this is to say, I truly believe that Barbie is unfairly targeted in a disproportionate amount compared to other products and media with similar flaws. This unfair treatment has always upset me, because as I'm here to tell you today, Barbie is a positive role model for many across the globe. Like, actually. How could that possibly be? Well, allow me to introduce you to the fantastical world of Barbie films. But real quick before that, hello. I'm Rosie Vision, and I like to take a look at entertainment through rose-tinted glasses. because we all deserve some magic in our lives. And if you'd like to join me on the journey to come, then please subscribe so you don't miss future videos. Okay, let's get back into it now, shall we? A lot of you may not be aware of Barbie's long career as a movie star, so here's a quick crash course. Technically, Barbie and the Rockers, Out of This World, was the first Barbie film. It was a two-parter TV special that came out in 1987. It was supposed to be the pilot for a cartoon series, but things didn't work out. Barbie and the Rockers isn't really what most people expect when they hear the word movie, since it was supposed to be a TV pilot. But it'd be unfair not to mention it. The movies I'm talking about started in 2001 with the first entry in Barbie's film saga, Barbie and the Nutcracker. Mattel has continued to make movies starring Barbie ever since, with over 40 entries as of this year. The Barbie films use CGI, and as far as I'm aware, they've never had a theatrical release. They're lower-budget movies that were initially created with the intent of selling tie-in dolls. And it was a good business decision, because younger me wanted those movie dolls more than anything. Even now, I kind of want to start collecting the dolls I couldn't get before. But even with a low budget, Mattel somehow managed to snag some really big names for roles, including Angelica Houston, Kelsey Grammer, Catherine O'Hara, and Martin Short. And somehow they got Tim Curry not once, but twice? I know he's done other voice acting work before, but that still blows my mind. And for the anime fans out there, one of Barbie's most prominent voice actors is someone you probably know. Alessandro Giuliani plays several of the love interests in Barbie movies. Giuliani's most well-known role is probably Elle from Death Note. He was also Gaeta in the 2000s version of Battlestar Galactica, for any fans of that one. My first introduction to his work was Barbie, but after watching Death Note, it's hilarious getting to hear him have his musical numbers in several of the Barbie movies.
Learn how to play the harpsichord, sing lullabies, and always harmonize in thirds, thirds, thirds. All these questions keep turning and churning and burning inside me. I need to find my way. Still, I need to go. I need to know.
But he still does a great job, so I recommend checking this out if you're interested. Since Mattel has been making Barbie movies for over 20 years at this point, there's been an inevitable evolution. The art style has changed multiple times, and even the types of stories told are different now. This is so apparent that the newer Barbie DVDs are labeled as classic if they were made before 2010. Most of the classic Barbie movies were adaptations of fairy tales, classic literature, or ballets starring Barbie in the lead role. Stories like Swan Lake, Rapunzel, or The Three Musketeers were adapted, for example. However, the most recent movies have been starring Barbie Roberts as herself. These movies follow Barbie in her actual life alongside her friends and family. The newer movies are also slightly shorter and are only available on streaming, for the most part. I'm going to be focusing on the classic Barbie films because that's what I grew up watching, so they've had more of an impact on me than the newer ones. But there are plenty of young ones being introduced to Barbie through her newer films too at this point. So I'm assuming the same points still stand regardless of what era of Barbie movies we're talking about. I've seen most of the Barbie films, but I need to catch up. There's about 4 I haven't seen yet. Now that we have a clearer picture on what exactly the Barbie movie franchise is, let's make this a bit more personal. I'm going to quickly tell you about how I was introduced to Barbie movies. My first Barbie film was Barbie as the Princess and the Pauper, which is a retelling of the classic novel The Prince and the Pauper. Many fans would consider Princess and the Pauper to be the cream of the crop when it comes to Barbie films, and apparently Mattel agrees because they've remade it not once, not twice, but thrice. I was gifted the VHS along with the Princess Annalise Barbie and the movie soundtrack for Christmas. It was all sitting beneath a mini pink Christmas tree I decorated with Barbie ornaments. Legitimately, this is the only Christmas haul I can vividly remember from my childhood. I was super happy with what I got, and it's what sent me down the path of becoming a lifelong Barbie fan. Princess and the Pauper was Barbie's first musical after launching the CG film franchise. And they knocked it out of the park. Excluding the animation, every other aspect of the movie was done quite well. The story touches on some mature topics and has good morals. We'll go over that a bit more later. After watching Princess and the Pauper, I was hooked. Every opportunity I had, I'd grab a new Barbie movie. And the ones I didn't have were uploaded on YouTube, way back in the day. So I made it my life mission to watch every single one. Whenever I needed a good pick-me-up, I'd just start one of my favorite Barbie movies. And magically, I'd feel a lot better. This love has stayed with me even into adulthood. To this day, I'm always looking to add to my Barbie film collection. Although I will admit, nostalgia is a factor to my love of these films, I will still defend them to the end. Yeah, the animation isn't the greatest, there are plot holes, and also some hilariously bad lines. There's still a lot of good to be found. The people behind most of these films actually cared about what they were making. And one way that's showcased clearly is through Barbie's musical discography.
Two voices, one song.
Normally, I wouldn't expect much musically from a straight-to-VHS future aimed towards younger kids, because more often than not, making amazing music for projects like these is far from a priority. However, that is not the case for Princess and the Pauper and many other Barbie films. You can hear the passion put into Princess and the Pauper's soundtrack. None of the songs feel weak, and the performances were great. Mattel somehow managed to snag Martin Short for this movie, and he totally steals the show and kills his musical number too.
What? Making a decision without me? Who does she think she is?
The Queen?
You simpering simpleton! How can I refuse?
Also, the musical score for this movie is gorgeous. Arnie Roth did the scoring for most of the classic Barbie movies, and he did an amazing job. I'm impressed with the sound even today as someone looking to get into the music field. I'll play some quick clips if I can. Princess and the Pauper also has some surprisingly heartfelt lyrics, most notably in the songs The Cat's Meow and the movie's love song, If You Love Me for Me. I'll briefly go over them to explain what I mean. The Cat's Meow is a song sung by Erica to her cat, Wolfie. Erica is one of our protagonists and plays the part of the Pauper in this retelling. Wolfie acts more like a dog than a cat, to the point where he barks instead of meowing. Kind of a weird premise, but stay with me. I promise it actually sort of makes sense within the larger narrative. Anyways, Wolfie sort of has an identity crisis because of this and tries to force himself to meow, which is what leads into this song. Erica consoles Wolfie and lets him know that he doesn't need to change. She loves him for who he is, regardless, which is one of the main morals of the film. Here are some of the lines from the song that stand out to me the most.
And if what you are is a strange you, doesn't mean you should change you, only means you should change your point of view. There is not one hair of you that I would rearrange. I love you the way you are, and that will never change.
It's a super sweet song that establishes how Erica legitimately loves others for who they are inside. And it also lets the listeners know that it's okay to be different. If that weren't enough already, the song moves the plot forward too. Erica's love interest is King Dominic. He's being forced into an arranged marriage and is concerned that people only care about his status and that no one will love who he is as a person. He happens to overhear this song, and it's what catapults his interest in Erica. Erica is pretending to be his betrothed at this time, because the real princess was kidnapped. And this leads us to the next song. If You Love Me for Me is a love song for Erica and Dominic. As I already mentioned, Dominic wants someone to care for who he truly is. And Erica has reluctantly stepped into the role of princess in order to help discover the true monarch's whereabouts. However, even though she knows she shouldn't, Erica starts to grow feelings for Dominic as well. But because she's pretending to be someone else, Erica is scared that he won't accept her as she truly is. Seeing a parallel here? This makes a great setup for this song, which voices both of their desires to be loved for who they really are, all while vaguely hinting at the secret Erica is keeping. Let's go over some lyrics again.
You say your love is true, and I hope that it will be.
I'd be sure if I knew that you loved me for me. What you see may be deceiving. Truth lies underneath the skin.
Hope will blossom by believing the heart that lies within.
This is my absolute favorite Barbie song, and unironically one of my top love songs. I love the way it sounds, and the lyrics are so sincere. It may be a simple premise, but it was executed really well. It's songs like these that showcase the heart put into these Barbie films best. Not all Barbie songs have this much substance. There's still a song or two dedicated to more superficial things like glitter. However, those are the exceptions, especially when it comes to the early films. Most of the musical discography has songs like these that tackle emotions and insecurities in a really honest way. Whether it be a song about having a friend who keeps your skies blue, or finding the courage to show the world who you truly are. A lot of people see Barbie as fitting alongside negative tropes like the popular girl and a dumb blonde. And yes, Barbie is indeed blonde. As we already established, she loves fashion and is well off enough to live in Malibu. However, Barbie is meant to be used as a tool for kids to imagine bigger-than-life scenarios. So I personally feel it's unfair to judge these parts of her character as if she were an actual person. Also, there's nothing inherently wrong with any of these traits either. It's who you are as a person, not your background or interests that matter. But regardless of how you may feel about Barbie's official character setup, I'm here to tell you that the movie Barbie is quite different. To clarify, Barbie is usually playing a character in her films. That's why movie titles start with Barbie as blank, or Barbie in da-da-da-da-da. This setup is kind of similar to the way children use Barbie to make up their own stories. So the Barbie Roberts that we're familiar with rarely makes an appearance, much less carry an entire movie. When Barbie does show up, it's usually to introduce the story as if she were the one telling it. And honestly, I genuinely looked up to the characters Barbie played throughout the years. I legitimately think she's a great role model, with maybe 1 or 2 exceptions. But don't just take my word for it. I'll introduce you to some of her best characters and you can decide for yourself. Alina is the main character of the Fairytopia movies. She lives in Fairytopia, which unsurprisingly is a fairy world. However, life isn't purely sunshine and rainbows for Alina. She's something of an outcast in Fairytopia, all because she was born without wings. But despite the struggle, Alina still proves herself to be a courageous hero. One day, a powerful fairy named Laverna poisons the world of Fairytopia. This poison weakens the fairies and takes away their ability to fly. Alina takes it upon herself to seek out the guardian fairies for help to fight against Laverna. It isn't exactly an easy journey, but she gradually gains confidence in herself. However, the journey might have been for nothing. The guardian fairies get captured by Laverna. After learning this, Alina, a wingless fairy with no special powers whatsoever, bravely faces off against Laverna herself. And during the fight, Laverna tempts Alina with the one thing she's always wanted more than anything: wings. But Alina decides to do the right thing and gives up the wings in order to defeat Laverna. Obviously, the movie has a happy ending, so Alina does get wings in the end. However, in the second film, Alina does something incredibly selfless. When the world is in danger once more, Alina sacrifices the wings she received as a gift. Yet again, she gets them back in the end, but it's the thought that counts. That took an incredible amount of sacrifice on her part. Overall, Alina is by far one of the best Barbie protagonists. She's incredibly selfless and very courageous. But she doesn't come across as too perfect either. She does need help from others quite often, and Alina can be a bit hot-tempered at times. And there are consequences for this later on. But at her core, Alina is still very kind, learns from her mistakes, and is a great hero to the citizens of Fairytopia. Mariposa is the lead of a Fairytopia spin-off. She's a butterfly fairy who lives in Flutterfield. The butterfly fairies are terrorized by creatures called skeezites. Only the light is able to fend them off. Because of this, butterfly fairies never leave Flutterfield in fear of being attacked by skeezites. But Mariposa is constantly seeking something more from her life. She reads all day about the lands outside of Flutterfield and is the most willing to test fate when it comes to leaving. Mariposa feels like an outcast because of this. She's the only one curious about the outside world, and she just doesn't fit in. Mariposa is sent on a quest when she learns that the queen has been poisoned. Without the queen, the lights in Flutterfield will go out, which will put all the butterfly fairies in incredible danger. So Mariposa searches for an antidote far outside the borders of Flutterfield. It's a very dangerous journey, and there are multiple times when things seem hopeless. But Mariposa never loses faith, and she uses her smarts on multiple occasions to save herself and the friends who tagged along with her. Mariposa is unsure of herself, and feels like she needs to change herself to fit in. But gradually she starts to gain more confidence. This culminates in a great character moment for her. There's the final test before Mariposa can receive the antidote to save the queen. She's brought into a large room full of stars, and is told that one of them is the antidote. She needs to find the right one. Mariposa's gut instinct tells her to use constellations to guide her, so she looks to the Archer constellation and looks at what it points to. It points to a single star that is barely lit and separate from all the others. Mariposa's reflection then starts planting seeds of doubt in her. It tells Mariposa that the star she wants to choose isn't important at all. It's all by itself and is far from the brightest. It's insignificant. How could it possibly matter? And Mariposa almost gives in to this. Because she feels the same way about herself. She feels like she doesn't really matter. But then Mariposa breaks past the self-depreciation and realizes her own worth. She doubles down on the star she chose, certain that it's the right one. She now understands that it's okay to not fit in with the crowd. That doesn't make your existence meaningless. Every star and person has their worth. And with that, Mariposa passes the test and gets the antidote. Me just summarizing this may feel kinda surface level, but the movie actually does a great job executing this idea. It's a beautiful moment, and I always love watching Mariposa finally accept herself for who she is. Mariposa is a great character to showcase these feelings of doubt we all feel from time to time, and she overcomes it in a really inspiring way. Corinne is one of the main characters from Barbie and the Three Musketeers. This is probably Barbie's most girl power movie. It's pretty ham-fisted and corny at points because of this, but the good intent is still there. Corinne has been training to be a musketeer all her life, just like her late father. She finally thinks she's ready and sets off to be a musketeer. However, girls aren't allowed to be musketeers, so she's laughed away. Corinne does have a letter of recommendation from her late father, but it's still not enough. The best she can do is get a job working at the palace. While there, Corinne discovers 3 other girls who also have the same dream. Together, they secretly train to be musketeers. Along the way, they also discover a plot to assassinate the prince. And wouldn't you know it, the actual musketeers aren't up to the task. So Corinne and her group of musketeers take it upon themselves to save the prince. And they do, which earns them official positions as musketeers. I included Corinne mostly because of the story setup. Honestly, being brave and hating injustice is 90% of Corinne's character. There isn't too much else. However, I personally looked up to Corinne and her friends a lot as a girl. They had big dreams, great dedication, and they took matters into their own hands. Once again, it does feel corny at times. Sort of like the boys versus girls mentality that a lot of elementary schoolers have. But it still touched on a very serious subject and did it in a way that younger viewers can connect with. There are tons of other great characters in these films, including some well-written side characters, but we'd be here a while if I went through them all. So hopefully I was able to explain why I looked up to many of the characters Barbie has played throughout the years.
What's gonna happen? I can't wait to see.
It's not just the characters I'd like to praise when it comes to Barbie films. The stories themselves are pretty inspirational at times. I'm not gonna say that the story writing is on the same level as classic Pixar or Disney, 'cause it's not. But there's still some pretty great stuff sprinkled in there. And to top it off, each classic Barbie film has a moral attached to it. During the credits, there'd be a quote from Barbie herself that relates to the movie's narrative. Reading these quotes without the movie context is probably underwhelming. There are some pretty generic lines, but a lot of these quotes connect very well to the central themes of their respective film, and it makes watching these movies a learning experience for younger viewers. To paint a clearer picture, I'll share a few of the quotes and explain how it connects to the movie it's from. Live your dream. This is the quote for Barbie and the Princess and the Pauper. This is one of the best executed themes in my opinion. The movie follows Erica and Princess Annalise. Miraculously, they were born at the same time to different families, and they look incredibly alike. However, they lead very different lives because of their difference in social class. Annalise grows up as a sheltered princess who has every detail of her life decided by others, whereas Erica grows up trying to pay off her parents' debt as an indentured servant. Quick note, the class differences between these two isn't really a major focus of the movie, since this is geared towards younger audiences. The movie chooses to focus on individual character above all else instead. So it sheds light on how the two are surprisingly similar despite their different backgrounds. This might feel contrived to some, but I think the overall messaging of the movie works out. As you might imagine from the quote, "Live your dream," this movie's theme revolves around dreams. Annalise dreams of marrying the man she loves, rather than being forced into marriage. Erica wants to break free of her debt and become a successful singer. Julian, Annalise's love interest and tutor, feels shackled by his low status. He feels unworthy of being with Annalise. Lastly, King Dominic, Erica's love interest, wants to be seen as a person, not a mere status symbol. Despite the extremely different upbringings of all the main cast, they all share one thing in common. They feel shackled by something outside of their control. But this is handled in quite a mature way. No one runs away from their duties and obligations. Each of these characters does what they need to do, even when it hurts them. Erica diligently works to pay off her debt, Julian tries not to overstep his boundaries as a mere tutor, and Annalise and King Dominic reluctantly agree to their arranged marriage. This marriage is vital for Annalise's kingdom because they're in a financial crisis. However, a happy ending is just around the corner. This is a Barbie film after all. King Dominic finds happiness through Erica. Annalise discovers a massive supply of geodes and uses them to resuscitate the kingdom's economy. She also has a genuinely sweet confession scene with Julian. They're trapped inside a mine, and Annalise is holding what appears to be a rock. She tells Julian that he's like the rock she's holding. Then she breaks it open and reveals a collection of beautiful crystals inside. Unassuming on the outside, but a treasure within. Which sounds sort of backhanded if you think of it as appearance versus inner character, but that's not what she meant. She's saying that she doesn't care if the nobles around her don't think much of Julian because of his status. She knows how much of a treasure he truly is. This is legitimately one of my favorite confession scenes, and I've seen a lot over the years. It's not super dramatic or flashy, just extremely honest and sincere. It's a great scene, and now that the kingdom is financially sound once more, it's no longer irresponsible of Annalise to be with the man she loves. But what about Erica? Well, the ending to her story is also a highlight of the film. Annalise helps Erica pay off her debt, so now she's free to live her dreams. Dominic has finally found what he's been dreaming of with Erica, so he gives her a ring with the intent of marrying her. However, Erica makes it very clear that she's not ready. She wants to live out her dreams as a singer now that she finally is free. And not only does Dominic let her go, but he also waits for her. The two only wind up together after Erica finally has a chance to live out her life, which is something you would not expect to see in a Barbie film. Even Disney princess films around this time period usually ended with a wedding right after the conflict was resolved. Not in this movie though. Yes, it still ends with a wedding, and boy is it a big one at that. But the movie makes sure to tie up loose ends first. The kingdom is stable once more, and Erica is given the chance to truly live her life. It's a really heartfelt addition that I appreciate even more now that I'm older. I can't think of another movie like this off the top of my head that tells its audience that it's okay to live for yourself before settling down, which is a great message we should see more of in entertainment. There is always hope. This quote is from Barbie and the Magic of Pegasus. Magic of Pegasus follows a princess named Annika. Her parents are extremely strict and coddle her to an unusual extent, much to Annika's annoyance. However, there is a reason for the madness. Annika's parents had another daughter once, named Brietta, but she was cursed by an evil sorcerer named Wenlock. Brietta ran away because of this and was never seen again. Unfortunately, Annika is unaware of this history, so because of her carelessness, Annika's parents and the entire kingdom are frozen by Wenlock. Annika has only 3 days to free them all, or the spell will become permanent. This movie does a great job driving home its message. Things are extremely dire for Annika. She could lose everyone she loves and the kingdom she's responsible for. But Annika still decides to fight back rather than give in to Wenlock's demands. Along her journey, she finds Brietta, who's been transformed into a Pegasus. Brietta has completely lost hope. She gave up on trying to break her curse, and believes that Wenlock is too powerful to stop. But Brietta gradually starts to become less pessimistic when she sees Annika doing what she couldn't. The two come across another hopeless soul while in the Forbidden Forest, a blacksmith named Aiden. He's even more cynical than Brietta and is very reluctant to join them on their quest. Aiden's backstory is surprisingly grim for a Barbie film. He got too cocky and ended up gambling away his family's money. So he ran away in guilt and shame. Aiden feels terrible for what he did and believes that he can never seek forgiveness because he's undeserving. But Annika gives him hope that maybe it's not too late for him after all. There's even more reason to lose hope besides these gloomy backstories. While on their quest to seek out the Wand of Light, the team comes across Wenlock. He attacks the group, and during the chaos, Annika gets crushed by a giant heap of snow and ice. Aiden frantically tries to dig her up as fast as he can, but it takes a while. So much time that Annika is in danger of freezing to death. She almost dies because of this, but Annika, Brietta, and Aiden still somehow manage to defeat Wenlock in the end. And Brietta and Aiden both find the courage to return back home and face their families. Honestly, Magic of Pegasus is easily the darkest and most depressing of all the Barbie movies. But regardless, the main cast manages to find the strength to push forward even when things seem impossible. If you look past the juvenile comic relief moments and the wonky animation, you'll find an extremely heart-wrenching story, but one that still manages to inspire. There's a difference only you can make. This quote comes from Barbie and the 12 Dancing Princesses, a personal favorite of mine. The story of this film follows Genevieve and her 11 sisters. They're a rather rambunctious group, which leads to gossip that the princesses of the kingdom are improper. Because of this, their father is worried that they might not be prepared for future royal responsibilities, so he asks his cousin, Duchess Rowena, to take the girls under her wing. However, Rowena doesn't care for the well-being of the princesses whatsoever. All she wants is to take the king out of the picture so that she can ascend the throne. After becoming miserable due to Rowena's cold nature, Genevieve and her sisters stumble across a magical land where their wishes are granted. They visit every night to get away from Rowena and are often unreasonable expectations. However, once Genevieve learns of Rowena's evil plot, it's up to her and the other princesses to rescue their father. The movie's quote is weaved into the story for this one. Genevieve tells her youngest sister Lacey that their late mother used to say, "Big or small, there's a difference only you can make." Lacey feels like she's always messing things up, and feels like her sisters are more in touch with who they are. Everyone has their own interests and charms, be it horseback riding, collecting bugs, or painting. And Lacey feels like she hasn't found her own place yet within their very large family. But Lacey, although the youngest and most timid, ends up making the biggest difference. In the magical land the girls escape to, there is water with healing properties. Lacey saves some because of how often she hurts herself. But the water she collects ends up saving her father. Rowena is successful in her plot to off the king. She poisons him, and he actually dies. Luckily, Lacey is able to revive him with the healing water, and all her other sisters use their individual talents to fight back against Rowena and storm the castle. Each sister plays their own little part to save their father. The story is nothing too complex, and the quote is incorporated in a pretty straightforward way. But that's not to say it's bad by any means. You can really feel the family camaraderie in this film, both from the princesses with each other, and then also them with their father who loves them dearly. He realizes that the princesses were fine the way they were, and that they didn't need to change who they were to please others. It's a sweet message about staying true to yourself, and it's executed well enough. Barbie's films were a huge part of my childhood. They hold a very special place in my heart. Rewatching them and even just listening to the songs always puts me in a great mood. It's perfect feel-good content, and I appreciate the morals and heart put into these movies even more as I grow older. And I know that I'm not the only one who feels this way. I see new fan art, cosplays, and song covers all the time for the Barbie movies. Also, there's a lot of commentary videos on Barbie movies that get pretty good numbers. It's quite clear that a lot of people hold these movies close to their hearts, from all over the world, too. There's so much love for these movies that fans still care enough to create and view content for them after all these years. There's a lot of good to be found in the Barbie films if you give them a chance. Yes, there is questionable animation, some bad lines, and just really weird sequences at times. But at their core, these movies are nothing but a positive force. They teach lessons about being true to yourself, finding the courage to try, and encourage viewers to dream. It really hurts me to see Barbie be labeled by the masses as such a negative thing. Her name is thrown around like an insult quite often, and fingers are always pointed at the Barbie brand when it comes to things contributing towards bad body image. I'm not going to say that the dolls have zero negative impact, but Barbie dolls are far from the only thing to blame. Getting rid of Barbies probably won't change much in that regard, unfortunately. To be fair, there are things that have been advertised under the Barbie brand that were bad. It's kind of inevitable considering how old the brand is. But the Barbie that I grew up with always inspired kids to dream. Mattel decided to use Barbie's multitude of careers in order to teach the young ones that anything is possible. Barbie's tagline is, "You can be anything." And the dolls showcase that through the dozens of careers that Barbie has held over the years, including president. Obviously, there are barriers that keep people from achieving their dreams, some of which seem impossible to break through. So some might take offense at being told that you can be anything if you just try hard enough. However, I think that's taking the tagline a little too literally. I interpret it similar to Ratatouille's slogan, "Anyone can cook." And in the movie, critics of that rhetoric believed that such a statement was ludicrous. Not everyone has the skills to succeed, and not everyone should cook. But the real message was that a great cook can come from anywhere. That's how I look at Barbie's tagline. It's true that you can't just decide on a whim to be anything you want to be. Take being a pilot. You may not have the right disposition for it. Or maybe you don't have the appropriate resources. But in theory, a pilot can come from any sort of background. Barbie's tagline encourages kids to dream big and to believe that they could be anything if they put their all into it, which is a great mindset to have. In a perfect world, no one would be kept from certain careers so long as they gain the necessary skills. And Barbie's tagline helps kids imagine a world where that is possible. Imagining is the first step in creation. Just thinking this way could inspire kids to challenge the world they live in and make change. With that said, Barbie is still a brand, so I'm not going to pretend that it's unworthy of any criticism. However, I believe that Barbie is one of the most unfairly hated brands out there. There are things about it to legitimately criticize, but most critics completely disregard all the positive influence that Barbie has had, which is a lot. Barbie had an amazing impact on me, and she did the same for people all over the world. I hope this video was able to showcase a more positive side of Barbie, because it deserves to be known.
When you live your dream, you'll find destiny is written in God.
Thanks for watching, everyone. This was a lot longer than I expected it'd be. I've been a lifelong Barbie fan, so this video means a lot. Hopefully, I did a good job at explaining things, and maybe I was able to change some minds about Barbie even slightly. Feel free to let me know in the comments. And for all the Barbie fans out there, please share what kind of impact Barbie has had on your life. That'll be all for today. If you'd like to support the channel, then please consider donating to my Ko-fi, or giving me a super thanks by clicking the heart icon beneath the video. As always, don't forget to keep a little magic in your life. Till next time, bye!